Now, of course, Kate may have been less prominent last night, but her husband, William, has been quite open this week, sharing some of his experiences in a very personal podcast. What more can you tell us about that?
He did, and actually, this time a week ago, I was on a conference call with Kensington Palace and some executives for Apple, and me and other journalists were given a kind of sneak preview of this podcast. And when they first told us what it was about, because there was a big mystery about it, we didn't know what we were going on the call for. I was a bit like, oh, God, is this going to be a little bit awkward? I was a little bit sceptical. But as we got into it, I thought it was actually a really well done and surprisingly kind of intimate experience. You can hear the crunch of William's feet on the frozen grass at Sandringham. And as he says, it was kind of just walking around, like having a conversation with a really good friend. And, he really opened up in it. He talked about his own mental health issues over the years. And while he didn't use the word depression, it was quite clear that he'd been to quite a dark place during his time as an air ambulance pilot. And there were some bittersweet memories recalling how him and his mum in the car used to listen on the way to school to Tina Turner's Simply the Best, and some fun moments talking about the music that his kids love to dance around in the kitchen. Shakira Waka Waka is a favourite, and how they kind of have a little bit of fight between them as to who gets what choice on the radio. I actually thought it really worked in the end. And I was thinking at the start of it, this might be a bit awkward, but I have to say I was wrong.
And we all know about Harry's broadcasting on these sorts of topics. Do you think William is quite influenced by everything that his brother does?
Good question. It's one that's, I think, slightly difficult to quantify because, of course, how much is it of William just getting a bit older and getting a bit more daring and a bit more comfortable in the public eye and kind of getting out of his comfort zone? But I think you do have to give Harry credit where credit's due. He was quite a trailblazer in this field, doing something a little bit different, more personal, that was kind of outside of the traditional royal role. And of course, William and Kate, actually, their social media manager they have now was Harry and Meghan's social media manager. And I think you can definitely see that in some of the social media posts they do. So I think you have to credit Harry with being some of the inspiration, but this is also about William feeling comfortable to slightly break out of the mould a bit as well.
Tessa, do you think what Harry does somehow dilutes what William does, or do you think it still has the same impact?
They did do that heads together thing as a three, it was at the time, wasn't it? Then it became briefly the Fab Four. So I think it's unfair to give Harry all the initiative. I often wonder, we all talk about Harry, and Harry's always at the sort of top of the storyboard. But arguably, as long as they're all part of the same conversation, it kind of emboldens the British monarchy, at least the soap opera aspect. Is probably not really the look that Charles and the Queen are going for, but better to be talked about than not at all. It's why our monarchy is much more famous than other European monarchies. So I'd say at the moment, I think they're greater than the sum of their parts, all of them. To what extent that can continue with the bad blood, I don't know.
And Richard, what do you make of it? I mean, do you think the content is too similar? They're sort of vying for the same topics?
I thought the podcast was fascinating. I mean, my goodness, you don't normally get that sort of insight into the mind and the life of a future monarch. So it's a very interesting listen.
Hang on, if Harry had talked about him, you'd have gone, oh God, more solipsistic diatribe from Harry. Let's be honest.
Well, I think the key difference is Prince William said to Apple, look, if I'm going to do this, I will only do it if it raises large amounts of money for charities. So he was doing it through that royal view of service.
Because he gets paid as the future king. He's on the civil list. So it's unfair to say he's done it for charity and Harry doesn't, because Harry has to earn a living.
Yeah, but I think why you do things, it makes a big difference. If the royal family were doing things to enrich themselves, then, we would criticise them and there wouldn't be any point to them.
Because we're already paying them, but we're not paying Harry.
Well, that was his choice to move to America.
But that's why I don't criticise him, because like you and me, he also makes a living from talking.